clear.
我现在讲一句，你们没有资格在中国的面前说你们从实力的地位出发同中国谈话。
So let me say here that in front of the Chinese side, the United States does not.
Stop the scroll right now. You are watching the Chinese Communist Party openly mock and humiliate the United States just a few years ago. But wait until you see how incredibly fast the tables have turned.
Have the qualification to say that it wants to speak to China from a position of strength.
Wait, did you catch the absolute arrogance in his voice? That was a top Chinese diplomat essentially lecturing the American delegation like they were children back in 2021. He flat out told them the United States was not qualified to speak from a position of strength. Fast forward to today, and the entire global dynamic has been completely flipped on its head. Instead of getting lectured in a conference room in Alaska, the current administration is over in Beijing literally rewriting the geopolitical map. By completely cutting off China's illicit oil supply lines from places like Venezuela and Iran, the United States forced Beijing into a corner. Now, China is the one scrambling to make deals and appease the American delegation. It is a stunning turnaround that proves a very simple geopolitical reality. Adversaries do not respect strongly worded diplomatic memos. They only respect overwhelming economic and military leverage. The days of America getting publicly embarrassed on the world stage are over, and the Chinese leadership knows they have to play by a completely new set of rules.
The main loading facility for Iranian oil is a facility called Kharg Island. We've seen that there have been no loadings in the past 3 days. We believe their storage is full. None of the ships are getting out. None are coming in, so they're not able to store oil on the water. So they're going to start shutting down their
Look at the Treasury Secretary laying out the absolute destruction of the Iranian economy on live television. He is confirming that Kharg Island, which is essentially the central nervous system for Iran's entire oil export industry, is completely paralyzed. No ships are loading, storage is maxed out, and they are literally being forced to shut down their production. This isn't just a minor inconvenience. This is a total economic strangulation of a regime that has funded terrorism across the globe for decades. The media completely panicked when this blockade started, claiming it would cause a global meltdown. But instead, it has been a resounding surgical success. Bessent even points out that the Iranian military isn't getting paid and they can't restock their weapons. When you cut off the head of the snake financially, the rest of the body quickly dies. It is an incredibly aggressive, highly effective strategy that avoids putting thousands of American boots on the ground. By using absolute economic dominance, the administration has pushed one of our biggest adversaries to the absolute brink of collapse.
President Trump nearing the end of his high-stakes visit to China now. He kept his word on having that long private meeting with President Xi. They sat down for more than 2 hours.
Did you see the sheer scale of that reception? Just look at the massive military honor guard and the red carpet rolled out for President Trump and his team. You have to understand that in international diplomacy, especially with the Chinese Communist Party, optics are absolutely everything. They do not throw this kind of lavish, highly choreographed spectacle unless they are trying to send a massive signal to the rest of the world. After a 2-hour private meeting with Xi Jinping, it is crystal clear that Beijing is incredibly eager to make a deal. They know that their economy is incredibly vulnerable right now, and having the American president show up with a massive entourage of top CEOs means business is on the table. The mainstream media spent weeks predicting this trip would be a massive embarrassment, but these visuals completely destroy that narrative. When foreign leaders roll out the absolute highest level of state honors, it means they recognize and respect the immense power you are bringing to the negotiating table. The United States is completely dictating the terms of engagement.
Boy, they're not fighting a war with us or anything.
No.
He said he's not going to give military equipment. That's a big statement. He said that today. That's a big statement. He said that strongly. But at the same time, he said, they buy a lot of their oil there, and they'd like to keep doing that. He'd like to see Hormuz Strait opened. I said, well, we didn't sell.
Listen closely to exactly what the president is confirming here. Getting a direct, on-the-record pledge from Xi Jinping that China will not sell military equipment to Iran is an absolutely massive diplomatic victory. Iran has been desperately relying on foreign powers like China and Russia to keep their military infrastructure afloat. By stepping in and completely severing that supply line, the US is essentially locking the regime in a cage with no way to rearm. And notice how he casually mentions that China wants the Strait of Hormuz reopened. He is subtly pointing out that the United States is the one controlling the global chessboard. We shut it down, and now even a superpower like China has to come to us and ask for it to be reopened. It completely flips the narrative that America is somehow isolated on the global stage. By leveraging China's massive dependency on foreign oil, the administration is forcing them to abandon their proxy allies in the Middle East. It is a brilliant, high-stakes squeeze play.
And the well-being of our people, to the bright future of China-US relations and the friendship between the two peoples, and to the health of President Trump and all the friends present. Cheers.
Ganbei.
Cheers.
Look closely at the body language during this state banquet. The president is confidently raising a glass, toasting to the prosperity of both nations, and formally inviting Xi Jinping to the White House. It is a masterclass in the art of the deal. You can be absolutely ruthless behind closed doors, applying maximum economic pressure and dismantling their proxy allies, but then you step out into the public eye and project nothing but diplomatic grace. This is how high-level statecraft actually works. He is offering Beijing a very clear choice. You can either cooperate and enjoy a mutually beneficial trading relationship, or you can test our resolve and watch your economy get squeezed even tighter. By extending that invitation to the White House, he is putting the ball entirely in China's court, while maintaining the absolute upper hand. The media wants everything to be an endless, screaming conflict. But true power is knowing exactly when to apply pressure and when to offer an olive branch on your own terms.
Get this, Chinese companies are now discussing major new arms deal sales to Iran, explicitly ignoring Donald Trump's letter to Xi before his arrival that he should not allow arm transfers, with Xi replying that he was not doing so. And then the Chinese companies as Trump.
Now, compare the diplomacy we just saw to this incredibly cynical take. They are hyperventilating over reports that Chinese companies are supposedly still discussing arms sales with Iran behind the scenes. This is classic media desperation. When the administration scores a massive, undeniable victory on the world stage, the critics immediately start digging for any obscure rumor they can find to completely undermine it. It is entirely possible that some rogue Chinese companies are floating deals, but the official state policy dictated by Xi Jinping is what actually matters. When the leader of the Chinese Communist Party publicly pledges to stop military transfers, the state-run apparatus falls in line. But the political opposition is so deeply invested in the president failing that they will gleefully amplify foreign propaganda just to try and score a cheap political point at home. They are actively rooting against American interests because their hatred for the administration completely overrides their basic common sense. It shows exactly how disconnected the political elite has become from actual geopolitical realities.
Growing over Taiwan, Chinese state media reporting that Xi warned Trump that Taiwan, the democratic self-governing island that Beijing views as part of its territory, is, quote, the most important issue in China-U.S. relations and could create a very dangerous situation if mishandled. Some observers viewing that.
Pay attention to how CNN is spinning this warning about Taiwan. They are breathlessly reporting that Xi Jinping issued a stern threat, calling Taiwan the most important issue and warning of a dangerous situation. But notice what is completely missing from this report: the American response. The US delegation didn't scramble to apologize, they didn't back down, and they didn't issue a panicked clarification. They simply let the Chinese state media throw their predictable tantrum and continued securing their massive economic deals. In international diplomacy, sometimes silence is the ultimate power move. Beijing has to put out these aggressive statements for their own domestic audience so they don't look incredibly weak after rolling out the red carpet. It is standard political theater. But the media instantly tries to frame it as if the United States is somehow buckling under pressure. The reality is that the administration knows exactly where the red lines are, and they are completely unbothered by Beijing's tough talk. They secured the concessions they actually came for and ignored the irrelevant noise.
President Xi would like to see a deal made. He would like to see a deal made. And he did offer, he said, if I can be of any help at all, I would like to be of help. Because,
he did say that.
Yeah, he did say that. And look, anybody that buys that much oil has obviously got some kind of a relationship with him. But he said, I would love to be of help if I can be.
Listen to how casually the president drops this massive bombshell. He is openly confirming that China is actively offering to step in and help reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Think about the magnitude of that statement. The United States has essentially outsourced the management of a rogue regime to one of their biggest former allies. By completely choking off the oil supply, the US created a massive problem for Beijing, and now Beijing is desperately offering to solve it just to get their economy back on track. It is an incredibly sophisticated diplomatic trap. Instead of the United States having to beg the international community for help, China is literally volunteering to pressure Iran because they have no other choice. It completely neutralizes Iran's ability to hold the global economy hostage. When you leverage the world's second largest economy to do your heavy lifting in the Middle East, it completely reshapes the balance of power. It is a stunning display of strategic leverage that the foreign policy establishment said was entirely impossible. Look at this incredibly desperate headline. The Iranian regime is suddenly proclaiming safe toll-free passage for 30 Chinese tankers. Can you smell the sheer panic? The second they realized that China was actively negotiating with the United States to reopen the strait, Iran immediately panicked and tried to throw Beijing a massive, desperate bribe. They are terrified of losing their last remaining international lifeline. But here is the brutal reality. Even if Iran offers them completely free passage, those tankers still have to get through the impenetrable United States Naval Blockade. It doesn't matter what kind of empty promises Tehran makes. The US military is the one actually controlling the physical waterway. It is honestly pathetic to watch a regime that spent decades acting like an untouchable regional powerhouse get reduced to frantically offering free tolls just to maintain a sliver of relevance. Their entire strategy has completely collapsed, and they know the walls are closing in rapidly. And right on cue, look at the immediate economic payoff of this summit. Boeing just secured a massive deal to sell 200 huge jets directly to China. They originally went in aiming to sell 150, and they walked out with an even bigger contract. This is exactly why you bring the top business executives in the world with you on a diplomatic mission. It isn't just about military positioning or political posturing. It is about bringing billions of dollars of revenue directly back into the American economy. When you operate from a position of absolute strength, you don't just secure geopolitical wins, you secure massive, tangible financial victories for American workers. This single deal supports countless manufacturing jobs right here at home. The establishment media desperately wanted this trip to be a failure, but you simply cannot argue with the hard numbers. The administration completely dominated the negotiations, neutered a massive global adversary, and walked away with billions in new business. That is exactly what winning looks like. If you want the raw truth about what is actually happening on the global stage, hit that subscribe button, leave your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.